specific songs and videos that I remember seeing early in college
Okay.
or late high school. So
Mm-hmm.
like 2013, 14 through like 17 that were kind of indicative of the wave of Americana music that was going to come. One of them is like Charlie Crockett's Jamestown Ferry video. I remember my buddy showing me that, Andy, and being like, holy shit,
Okay.
that's cool. Another one was the song Road Crew by the band then known as Mike and the Moonpies.
All right.
Mike and the Moonpies has since changed their name to Silverada.
Yes.
It is still led by the same guy, Mike, but it is not known as Mike and the Moonpies. We talked to the bass player for Silverada,
Omar.
Omar.
Nice guy.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. He joined them around 2018-19. So like the Solid Country Gold record.
All right.
He was his first record, which they recorded at Abbey Road Studios, which is neat.
Which is a cool story.
Yeah, we get into how they got to Abbey Road and also just the whole vibe of being in the room with the same shit the Beatles used, because
Yeah.
it's the same shit. Like they sang in the Lennon's microphone.
Yeah.
You know, like fucking what?
It's pretty cool.
You know,
And then you think about all the bands that came after the Beatles and had that same story.
yeah,
you
and
know.
we're at Abbey Road, and I mean John Williams. He told us John Williams, the composer for film,
Yeah.
recorded like Titanic and all his shit in the basement studio at Abbey Road, which I didn't know at all.
I didn't know it was set up in levels like that either.
I didn't know he was there. Yeah, I didn't know about the different levels of studios, how the building actually itself was organized. I found that interesting, being a Beatles fan.
Yeah.
Which most people are Beatles fans.
They do good work.
You know.
Yeah, they have some good songs.
Yeah. Once
Beatles.
once you're 3 years old, you know who the fucking Beatles are.
Right. We all know what Abbey Road is conceptually.
Yeah.
His story of being there was pretty cool. Do we know that person?
We don't know that motorcycle that just drove by, I don't believe.
No.
Or it was a shitty truck. I don't know.
That's...
It's one or the other. But, you know, Omar is a super nice guy, really outgoing. He builds his own bikes, which is neat. So we talk about that a bit. He's working on a Iron Head build right now, which I believe is like it's mid 70s. I don't remember exactly when.
Yeah.
I don't know if we were on the actual recording when we talked about.
We might have.
I think we had some of that in
he
the
showed
actual
us
recording.
his garage after the
Yeah.
conversation.
Oh, dude, he showed us his flooded garage.
His flooded garage, yeah.
Because South Texas, where he lives, had like
intense flooding.
18 inches of rain in 2 days or something. He said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of his stuff is fine, but there was some like lines where you could see where the water actually came up to in the garage, and he was on like a little bit of a slant too.
It had to go up to get to his garage,
and it was
helmet level.
Yeah, it was like half a helmet height.
Yeah.
Which isn't great, but his bikes are fine.
His bikes are fine.
You know,
I think he saved his amps and everything.
Yeah. But we talked to him about how he got into playing country and western music. He grew up as a metalhead. He was wearing a Rob Halford shirt.
Yeah, it's great.
And he has like long hair, and he looks like a metalhead.
A lot of that.
Yeah.
A lot of that in the scene.
Yeah, a lot of people that used to be punk or metal kids now playing country music. There's something there.
I think we each have theories of that, and I kind of liked what he said about just being like, no, I like music.
Yeah.
It's like different brushes for different techniques kind of thing.
Yeah, and he puts metal bass playing stuff into his honky tonk music, which is interesting. He's also like a multi-instrumentalist.
Yeah.
So he's just generally a guy that understands and can play things. He's played pedal steel and guitar, and I think he played horns. I don't want to say he said.
He mentioned that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People that do that always impress me.
People with technical mastery over several instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially while like a trumpet to a pedal steel, that doesn't transfer.
Yeah. You know,
like
lung breath control
while you're sliding.
Much. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's since you always find it interesting to hear about bands on the road, and also the growth of a band that has been around for as long as Silverada has.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff happens in 20 years.
I mean, getting to play at getting to record at Abbey Road's a big deal.
Yeah. And just
they have a certain level of success inherent.
Yeah, even if you still have to pay to be there, you're still at fucking Abbey Road.
Yeah,
He did not know how much it cost, and I really did want to know that.
I really wanted to know that too.
Yeah, he said an astronomical amount of money.
He said they couldn't do it again real soon.
Yeah. But we found out very shortly after the episode that they are going to be coming to Newport, Kentucky at the Southgate House
Yes.
this summer. I believe it's July 28th. So we will have an extra bike around for Omar when they show up,
Yes.
and we will show him beautiful Northern Kentucky, which is a place he has been to multiple times.
You can always see something new.
I don't think he's ever ridden around here, though.
Neither have I.
You rode a little bit around here. 2 parking lots and 4 streets.
Maybe my bike will be running by the time Omar gets here and we can cruise around.
Yeah, one of these intros, everyone's gonna get the great news that Eli's bike is moving. Currently, it's his battery, I guess. I don't know. It's a number of things. There's probably a drain somewhere. The battery definitely isn't good. The air filter is one of those ones that if it gets wet at all, the fucking bike won't start, which seems like a massive design flaw.
That's what I was saying. It's like, it doesn't seem smart.
It's not. That's why, like, the stock, like the Sportster stock one that I had on mine looks ugly, but it's like a metal oval.
I'll take ugly that works.
Yeah.
If
I
it
don't,
rains
I
a little
pulled
bit.
it. I got rid of that as soon as I could because it's big and it's clunky and I don't like it. But the new air filter should still deal with the rain because it is still metal. It's just a small circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. One of these days, there's going to be everyone that listens is going to be very excited for you.
I appreciate it. I look forward to the support, folks. Thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone runs a company that makes motorcycle or motorcycle related items and you want a sponsorship,
yeah,
we like free shit.
Like motorcycle that runs.
Not a whole bike, but like, if you got like a sissy bar or a seat that won't fall off.
Something related to a bike that runs.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're working on a couple things and we could highlight what you have. So, send me an email or some shit. It's on the contact section of the website.
Yeah. Reach out.
Yeah, reach out. We'll take pictures of it. It'll probably be in a magazine.
Yeah.
We got to make money off this. It's just too good.
I agree.
So I think you should leave reference. Here's Omar.
I'm your black cat, baby. Your bad luck creeping around the bend.
I didn't really grow up around bikes. I've always liked the idea of choppers and motorcycles and I had a buddy of mine. We would skateboard together, and his parents bought him a half pipe, and he had like a dirt bike, and so, I learned how to change gears on a dirt bike, and then, I lived out in Wyoming for a little bit doing an internship for college, and every day we were on a dirt bike just herding horses in the morning, way faster than using other horses, but so I've kind of just always messed around with bikes, been on them, know how to ride them. And then I bought a Honda 900, like a CB 900, maybe 2016, 17 or 18, 17 or 18. I can't remember. It was somewhere around that time. And it was a little like cafe racer, and I wanted to do something with that. Never got around to it, got rid of it. But a buddy of mine had a Honda Rebel, and he'd come hang out at the house all the time. And we'd hang out, skateboard on the street, and then I'd be like, hey, let me take your bike around the block. And so I would just take his like Honda Rebel around town. We live in a small town in South Texas, and then eventually just never got a bike. And then I made adult money, became an adult and made adult money. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a bike. So I bought my first Harley when the pandemic hit.
Okay.
Is that the Sportster?
Yeah, the Sportster, the 72. And then my father-in-law has an '09 Dyna that he's just kind of like, he used to ride it all the time and then left it in the garage for a minute. And and it just kind of sat there for a while and didn't, start. So I got that going for him again. So I brought that bike to the house, and so he was living out like north of Austin, which is 6 hours north of me. I
Like,
live.
You still live far from Austin?
Oh yeah. I still live way south. I live about 10 miles north of the Mexico border, down on the Rio Grande Valley, on the Rio Grande River.
I've never
And
been so south in Texas.
yeah, it's pretty south. I live in a town called Mercedes,
Okay.
and it's a border town of about 16,000 folk, probably 18, 19 now. I'm not sure, but last I checked, it was about 16.
Is the whole band down there?
No, the band's kind of all around Texas. So Mike lives a little bit north on the outskirts, like countryside of Austin. Taylor, our drummer, lives in Austin proper, and Catlin, our guitarist, lives over in Uvalde, Texas, home of Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
Uh,
I love McConaughey. He's a fun dude.
Yeah, kind of a Texas legend. But yeah, I bought my bike right when the pandemic hit, and that was cool. I bought it all just kind of stock, and I got a good deal on it. And then after that, I was just like, oh shit, I can't hardtail rubber mount frame. so I mean, I was kind of naive at the time and just kind of wanted something to ride, but I mean, that's neither here nor there. I ride it, I love it, and I put a Springer on there and raised some handlebars, did some internal wiring, and the standard things that every guy does on a Sportster.
Yeah.
And so I've been riding that bike ever since. And like I mentioned earlier, currently working on a 76 Siren head build.
And do you do all the work?
Yeah. I do it all myself. I've got a bike on a lift in the garage and shitload of reading service manuals and YouTube. But the cool thing, Texas has a cool bike scene too. So there's a lot of guys that are like fans of, it's just like a mutual relationship, like the music and the motorcycles. I got buddies that I'll hit up and ask for advice, or hey, I don't know what I'm doing here, what do you suggest? And a lot of helpful folks that come in clutch, dude.
Yeah, we got.
I need that.
Well, we have that.
I have that in spades.
We got real lucky. I met these two mechanics who go by Broken Bolt Cycles on Instagram.
Great guys.
Through a guy that runs a bike shop called Biker Central in Newport, Kentucky, which is right across the street from Southgate House.
Oh, right on. I didn't even know that. Like we've played there so many times that I didn't even know there was a chopper shop across the street.
Right across the
How
street.
am I just finding this out? What
Because the sign is not lit up at night.
You will.
This is a source of contention for me.
Oh man.
But those guys are very good mechanics. One of them is a painter as well. And like, dude, he's working on my 96 Sportster right now, and it looks entirely different.
It's cool.
Man, that's awesome.
But like, it's bare metal, because I saw a picture of it all lined up with bare metal, and I was
Before
like, well, fuck, keep it that way.
Like, yeah.
Then I told him, I was like, in the dream, I saw flames on the fender. And he was like,
yeah.
You mean painted or cut? And I was like, wait, you could fucking cut them?
That's
Cut it.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, those dudes, like, I can change like a points cover and like know when a battery's dead. Found that out this morning.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's the worst.
But that's as far as I go. The rest of that shit, I'm just like, hey guys, either Brandon or Jake's gonna put this up and deal with it for me. That shit's fun, man. We're working on trying to get. We have a lot of events at Southgate in conjunction with the bike shop, Biker Central.
Man,
So,
I had no idea this was even going on at Southgate. Like we've probably played there like 4 or 5 times. I can't even remember now. I have no idea. Yeah, next time let's totally set that up.
Yeah, it's kind of new because I got to know all these people last year. And so like this summer we have a bike show on May 17th. We got 3 swap meets, and it's all taking place at Southgate and at Biker Central across the street. I'm working on having a thing where those two places know each other.
It's in conjunction.
Yeah, gotcha.
Southgate's a great fucking venue, man.
Dude, I love that spot, man. It's really cool. It's like a church.
Yeah.
And like it's just, the last time we were there was such a big show, man. The crowd was awesome. They show up, they show up for us down there in Southgate, and we love it. Like the cool part about that is I think the last time we were there, we had Jason Scott and the High Heat with us, and it was really cool watching those guys from like that top balcony area.
Oh, that green room's sick.
Yeah, dude. It's a whole cool, like the first time we went there, we played on that upstairs. There's like a smaller room upstairs, right?
Yeah.
And we played up there, and I remember I had like this tiny amp with me. Actually, it was like an Ampeg 212. It was this guy right here. I had that guy in the venue, and then the following times that we went, it was just straight up in the big room, and that room is super awesome to play in for sure.
That was great. Did you ever play at the old one?
No, I don't think
it was
so.
like 15 years ago.
Yeah,
at
that
this
was a
point,
piece.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah. It still confuses some people around here.
Yeah.
They'll be like right across from Southgate, and they'll be like right across from Southgate's a fucking river. Where's this?
Yeah,
place?"
yeah.
I'm like, nah, you haven't been over there in 15 years.
The revival.
No, dude, I was thinking about this morning. I was listening to Gary Stewart,
Nice.
not on purpose, and then I remembered that you guys did a whole like lost songs record.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, did you do it like with his estate? How did it come to be? I'm kind of curious.
Yeah. So, there's some lore behind that. I don't know how much
A lot of
is,
more
like,
Gary Stewart.
true. Yeah. So, first off, like that was one of the like coolest things we could have done. Pandemic had hit, and we were kind of like looking to put some music out, but everybody was locked in place. So we all have the capability of recording at home, so we all kind of just like put our tracks together, and our producer Adam Oder, he kind of put this whole thing together and lined it up to where it worked out. But essentially what I heard, which probably isn't true, or is, I hope it is, because it's a cool story, but this is a project that had been wanting to be like, it was pitched to several folks, and it just never got fulfilled, and then it finally landed on our desk, and we were like, yeah, like let's do that for sure. Like let's definitely make an album of Gary Stewart's unreleased songs. And it was really cool getting to record that. So the estate, essentially his daughter, I think reached out to a friend of ours, and pretty much was that conversation led to, at the time, Mike and the Moonpies is the band that you need to get, which we're Silverada now. But yeah, so we were like, yeah, dude, let's totally do this. When we got those demos, those Gary Stewart demos, that was like really cool, because you were just hearing like an acoustic take, and he's like playing the guitar, and he's like singing a song, let's say Dance with Barbara. I can't remember exactly which one it was on the record, but he's like, oh yeah, and then going to the E minor, and then to the C, and then he sings a little bit of like unfinished lyric, but it's like most of the song is there, but it's just like not finished, and that was really cool for Mike to go in and just kind of like fill in those little.
Oh, so he like actually finished some of the lyrics.
Yeah, Mike definitely like finished some of the lyrics, and like rearranged a couple of the things to just kind of make it work. And so that was really cool. It was kind of like I guess in the album there's a song, The Finished Product, and I guess you could say like Mike is one of those guys that has really studied guys like Gary Stewart and Rusty Weir and just these like local Texas legends. He does his homework on it, and so to be able to kind of like write to complement the way Gary wrote,
like in his voice of it.
You know what I mean, and it to be able to understand that perspective and like and have an appreciation for it. Yeah, I think that was a really cool thing. And honestly, we mostly kept a lot of Gary's arrangements like the same way, mostly because we changed a couple things, maybe added a tag or whatever, but a lot of those arrangements are so kick ass. Like just the chord progressions for the music nerds.
When were they recorded?
I'm sorry.
Like when were the songs recorded?
So we recorded the songs. So pandemic started in 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Right, March 2020. So we had started recording some of that stuff in late 2019. So basically, the first half of the record we did it in studio, and the second half of the record was all at home.
It sounds the same.
Yeah, that's kind of the goal that we were going for. Like, how can we make this as keep that same essence? And I think Mike and our drummer at the time, Kyle, they quarantined for X amount of time, and then figured out a time to go to the studio and get a drums and rhythm track in. And then that was sent out to the rest of the guys, and we were all like, okay, well, let me put my bass part on there. And then my bass part gets sent to steel and then guitar, and then that gets mixed and lined up the same way, and we're all on like a tempo. And I think the most important thing, especially with like recording music, is having like a solid drum track down. You know what I mean? That kind of sets the vibe for the rest of everything that's going to happen, right? And then usually we'll stack it with drums, bass, and then the guitar and steel and all that. But it was a very interesting project. We had never done anything like that.
When did he write those songs? Because like 40 years.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't know how to answer that question. I think a lot of it is just kind of because I think he passed in 92 or 93, if I'm not mistaken. I could be
sometime between the late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, and so a lot of that stuff was kind of just throughout his career. Like Touch of You, one of the stories that I heard was basically like a story of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a play on I don't think it's like directly, but it's kind of like a his after his wife passed. The story that I heard was that this is kind of like a song that was kind of dedicated in her memory. And I remember recording that song because hearing the original recording of that was awesome, man.
Well, that's kind of like what led to his eventual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's a sad story. It really is. It's a tragic story all around. But definitely one that we wanted to keep alive and preserve with honesty, integrity, and just humbly serve some Gary Stewart to the fans. You know what I mean? But yeah, like the song "Smooth Shot of Whiskey," that was originally Dean Dillon. On the recording, when we got the demos, like that was Dean Dillon. Are y'all familiar with Dean Dillon? Okay, sweet, yeah.
I'm not.
Oh,
so for those who are listening who don't know who Dean Dillon is a very well-renowned songwriter. Did a lot of number one hits for George Strait and several other country singers.
Okay.
He's a great writer. But yeah, so in the original demo recording of "Smooth Shot of Whiskey," it's Gary Stewart and Dean Dillon, and on our version, it's Mike and Mark from Midland. So yeah.
I remember when that one came out. Are the demos around anywhere? Have they been released?
No, but that's probably not a bad idea to do like a anniversary release of that record with like an extended cut. Like that would be really cool to get some of those original demos on there.
Yeah, people love him.
Yeah, for real. And I will say that I remember recording Touch of You, and I was just like crying in the studio, like because it's kind of associating it with his life, and you get an understanding of what happened. And leaving behind such an amazing legacy of music and catalog, and you're hearing, like I remember hearing those original demos of Touch of You and I lost my best friend the day that I lost you. That like you just hear that, when you hear a Gary Stewart track, you hear that like that vibrato that he uses, like he does this like really fast vibrato, and like you can just, but sometimes the way he delivers it just kind of gives this like the feel, you know what I mean? It just captures the feel of what he's saying, and I think that's what made it great, man. And then of course we got some bangers on there like Dance with Barbara. That's got some cool songs. And we play a lot of those songs live. So for the people that are listening, listen to that album, come see us play it live.
Well,
Yeah, it's very good.
you guys, you're one of the first bands that I was aware of because I'm 28, right?
Right on. Yeah.
So when I mean, your Mike and the Moonpies first record was 07, I believe.
Yeah.
Um,
Real country.
Yeah, and it was kind of one of the first bands that brought back what is now the new wave of all that shit, you know?
I hear that, man. Yeah. And I felt the same. I fell in love with the band for this the same way you did.
When did you join them?
So I joined the band. So I guess I found out about Mike and the Moonpies. I was playing in a country band, and I also play pedal steel guitar. And so I joined a country band, and my buddy was like, "Dude, you got to check out this band, Mike and the Moonpies." So this was like 2015.
That was
And when
like around when like we were in college, we were listening to Road Crew, and You Look Good in Neon.
Oh yeah, dude, that's the way to yeah, for sure, dude. That's badass. So for me, it was like with the band, it was like Water on the Rocks and Barrio and El Camino. I love that Real Country album. It's a great album. But yeah, so I was playing pedal steel in this band, and I ended up becoming social media buddies with Zach, and Zach pretty much got me in the band after a while. So I joined the band in December of 2017.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I joined right before Steak Night was released, which was February of 18.
Were
And
you
then I'm sorry?
were you on that record?
No, I didn't play on. They had already recorded it. The first record that I was on was Cheap Silver and Solid Country Gold.
Okay,
And
that's
and
a great name.
Yeah.
yeah, that was a fun record to make too. And I was like, it was my first album with the band, and that was really exciting. Definitely like something I'll never forget. I was 8 months into the band, and it's like, hey, your first record is going to be at Abbey Road Studios.
Are you serious?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was definitely an unforgettable moment of my life, and something that I'll carry with me forever, that I'll never take for granted. But definitely it's one of those things that is so surreal. When you hear unbelievable stories, these are them, you know what I mean? But yeah, that Abbey Road was a blast. And then, you know, I've played on all the other records ever since
How did
Cheap
you end
Silver.
up in Abbey Road?
I'm sorry?
How'd you end up in Abbey Road? How'd that?
Yeah, so one night we were playing in Denver, and we were at a place. Actually, we had a night off in Denver, and there's this dive bar which is called the High Dive in Denver, Colorado, that we used to play at all the time. I think we still play it every now and then. And great hang with the folks there, and we had a night off, and we went out, had some drinks. I think I stayed in that night probably. But this just wild idea came up of like, we had a tour set up where we're going to play this festival in France, and then we were going to play another festival in Italy. And so we were like, well, we're going to Europe. Like, imagine if we made a record at Abbey Road. Like, that'd be pretty crazy. And at the time, we had a friend of ours who was a big help. He helped us a lot. He helped the band a lot. You know, kind of just helping us grow, you know, with better gear. And you know, he Stan the Man is what we called him, and it was his name, Stan Jeter, great guy. And he's a big supporter of the band, and he was there basically when Mike was born. Was Mike's dad's best friend, and you know, he was basically like a father figure to the whole band.
Is he still around?
No, unfortunately not, but he's still around, definitely in our memory, and we love him so much. Yeah, Stan was with us on this tour. We'd like to, you know, we always like to bring him along, and he'd fly in and come see us and whatnot. And he was there when this just like wild ass idea happened, and he was like, well, let's make it happen, boys. Like
I love this guy.
yeah, he's like, let's make it happen. And then our producer was with us, I think, Adam. He was there, and he was like, well, Dave, which is his studio business partner, Dave was like, he's like, well, Dave does sessions at Abbey Road, like maybe we can figure out a booking. And then one thing just kind of literally led to another, and it was like, well, here's the quote of what it would cost and the days that we could go in there, and it would route from, you know, right after Italy, we'll go straight to fly to London and then have these days, and then out of then it just became real. And so we prepped for that. Yeah, so like it became a real thing, and then so we had to do a lot of prep, and we were like, oh shit, like
How many days do you have?
so we did 3 days,
Oh,
2 days for the band and 1 day for the strings.
that's fucking fast.
Yeah, dude.
How was that pressure? Like, all right, we're here. Now we have to do it perfect in 2 days.
Yeah. So essentially we did a lot of pre-planning for this. We pre-gamed heavy.
Yeah.
So we did what we call pre-production, and we recorded down at Yellow Dog Studios, which is now located in San Marcos, Texas, but at the time was in Wimberley, Texas, just south of Austin. And so Mike had made up all these arrangements, and we went into the studio and kind of just like laid out some beds of like ideas that we wanted to kind of create. I know for sure like songs that were pre-produced that we did pre-production on that were straight transition into the studio session. I know for sure we did like Young in Love, You Look at a Neon, Danger was just kind of like those, like the main songs off of that album were the ones that we went in and just like, let's knock these out first, because we've already prepared for these. We've got them down.
How do you prepare? Like what is pre-production?
So essentially we record the album before we actually record the album. So essentially we were in the studio recording and arranging and figuring out the chord progressions and what hits are going to be where, and chorus, verse, chorus, solo section, twin sections here, and we arranged the whole thing and we recorded it. And so basically that was like, we demoed it essentially. Yeah. And we did that in 2018. So we did all the pre-production, got to Abbey Road, recorded all those songs that we already had in our back pocket. And then, so that was like the first day. And then the second day we were like kind of working on, some stuff just didn't work. It didn't work. And so we were kind of like in a pinch of like, all right, well, we have to figure something out now. And like a lot of those like in the moment songs were like Misfortune. That was like, there was like so many versions of all these songs. Pretty much every song you hear from us, there's a whole 2 other versions recorded of that song that like it took to get to where they finally get to on the album.
Sure.
And like Misfortune, Fast as Lightning was one of those that like the lyrics came pretty much after we recorded all the parts, but the lyrics were like finished after we recorded at Abbey Road. But like a lot of we did London Homesick Blues in Abbey Road as well.
You have to.
And on that, exactly, right. And on that song, our keys player at the time, who's now like still part of the band and a great friend to all of us, John Carbone, he played all the piano parts on every album that you hear of ours. He played all the keys parts, and so he came to Abbey Road with us, and he played on Mrs. Mills, the piano that was used to record Oobla Dee Oobla Da and Lady Madonna. It's such a cool piano. And then Mike got to use John Lennon's mic to record London Homesick Blues. And of course Stan the Man was there. It was a really cool like family moment for all of us. It was such a high to like think about it, because all of our supporters were there, the people that like believed in us from the start. We had a film crew that was with us. Our buddy John provided that, and he there's long lost footage of this entire album making that will eventually, it's not available yet, or we're still trying to like years later it's just kind of gets lost in the mix. But it was all documented up to the point of the studio. So when we were in France and when we were in Italy, there was just when we were in Italy, we were just followed by a 3-man film crew and just kind of like pre-recording interviews of us, like, hey, how do you feel going into Abbey Road and all this stuff.
You gotta get it out.
We hope to, man, and it's a really neat thing. But yeah, it was just really cool. Like I mentioned, it was kind of a big familial thing. Stan was there, and Stan's son, he is also into like music production. He's a music producer as well. And so at the time he was in like recording school, like production school, like music recording and studio recording. And so he was there in the studio with us, like, father, son. And it was just really like a big family moment for all of us. Like, it was my first album with the band. All of us, first time touring Europe, all of us first time at Abbey Road. It was just like a very surreal thing. Yeah.
For like everybody individually and like as the unit.
Yeah, for sure, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How much original shit is still in Abbey Road? Like, have they pulled and replaced
we got
things?
mics.
Because we know,
Yeah,
we have a
we-
mic.
Oh, man, everything is saved. I mean, I'm sure there's like remnants that have kind of like moved on, but because recording technology advances. But
Like,
I was able to like walk in to like around the studio, and it's a neat thing, man. So like you walk in, and really when you're walking in, you're actually like on the second floor.
Mhm.
Because there's a subfloor, I guess what we would call a basement, but it's technically the first floor. And on the first floor is where they have the Studio One.
Okay.
And Studio One is where they record all of the movie motion picture like soundtracks. All the Star Wars soundtracks were recorded there by John Williams. Like all the John Williams recordings are like at Abbey Road, and you're walking through those hallways and you're just seeing like all of these like legendary movie posters in the hallways, like Indiana Jones and like I mentioned, Star Wars, and just like it's movies that like are just legendary.
I didn't know he recorded there.
Yeah. It's there. So that it originally started out as like a IBM Studios or something like that. I think it was IBM Studios, and then later on became Apple Studios, and then Abbey Road Studios. But they so that Studio One room, super cool. That's where they record like their big symphonies and big projects. I think the scoring for Interstellar was filmed in there too, like just giant movies, and then upstairs is Studio 2 and Studio 3, or which would be the second floor. But technically Studio 2 is in between first and second floor.
Okay.
So the control room is in the second floor, but there's a stairway that takes you down to the would be like the first floor. And you'll see pictures of like bands on that stairway, like Pink Floyd or the Beatles or something like that. Yeah. And in that room, I mean, the flooring's all original. You look at the old pictures and it's all still the same. And then you have Studio 3, and right outside of Studio 3, it's kind of like a neat thing. They have the last filmed performance of Amy Winehouse and Tony Bennett.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
And so Studio 3, that's where they filmed that, but that's also where Pink Floyd made Dark Side of the Moon. So like it's a wild thing to be in that studio and just taking in all the history and like the legends that came before you. It definitely inspires you to be your best. Usually
Abbey Road, man.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And I've like to think that I take well to these kind of situations, because it's the stuff we all dream about. You know what I mean? I remember when we played the Grand Ole Opry the first time, our debut, and one of the ushers was like, "All right, now you guys take those nerves you're feeling and and put it on the stage." And I was like, with all due respect, I'm not nervous. I'm ready for this. I've been prepping for this moment. You know what I mean? I've been working hard to get here. So it's excitement, and I think I bring a lot of that to like the stage too. You know what I mean? I'm excited to do what I do, and I'm usually the guy that's running around the stage headbanging and doing the thing.
Yeah, you kind of look like a metal guy.
I'm wearing a Rob Halford shirt
No,
right now.
That's a nice shirt, by the way.
Thanks, man. Zach hooked me up with this one. We were in Richmond, Virginia, and this came from a spot called Saturn Return.
Yeah, it looks like the LG.
Saturn Return. That's funny.
Yeah, and it's a bootleg shirt for sure. So it's like Rob Halford and his like studded leathers and the biker hat, and then he's got like a whip in his hand. but at the bottom it says "Bros Before Hoes," which is great. Like it's just if you know, you know,
Dude, hats off to Halfords.
yeah, exactly, man.
Were you a metal guy before?
Definitely, yeah.
Like, were you in like punk and metal bands? And
I mostly played in metal bands before. Most of like my high school, some college was metal bands. I did go through a little bit of a like indie acoustic duo kind of thing with a friend of mine, and then went back to the metal. And I mean it was all cool. They were all learning experiences, but definitely when I started playing bass, it was all rooted in heavy metal. Everything was like Iron Maiden for me.
right.
Yeah, I grew up on like early Sabbath and you know, just you get into one and then it leads to another. I remember one day my dad came home with like a Stevie Ray Vaughan CD, and then he came home with like a compilation DVD of Iron Maiden music videos and yeah, man, I'm definitely a metalhead through and through. I did a lot of like genre exploration growing up, I guess, and so I went through like all phases of metal. I get into the punk and death metal, black metal, speed metal, power metal, hardcore, post-hardcore, whatever you like. You know what I mean? I it's all metal to me.
Oh, did you grow up in the same town that you live in?
Yeah, I
Okay.
sure did. Well, I was born in Houston, and then we relocated down here in like mid '90s, and then so yeah, I grew up here my whole life. Like my childhood memories are all here.
Did you care at all about country music when you were like in high school, or was it like, I'm in Texas, but I do not give a shit about like Freddie Fender or any of it?
Man, it's that's a cool thing, and it's a great question because it's kind of a loaded question, or that's a kind of a loaded answer. There was always country music around.
That's what.
My brother, his first time, like when you get in high school, that's kind of like identity. You know what I mean? It's like the jocks, the FFA guys are the music nerds. You know what I mean? And being down here, we're a big agriculture community. Agriculture is our main thing. You guys are in Lexington, right? So quarter horses and thoroughbreds is
We're like 45 minutes north of Lexington.
gotcha.
Covington, which is basically Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Okay, right on, heard.
So we're like 10 minutes from Southgate.
Oh wow. Oh
Yeah.
wow. Right on. Okay. So yeah, so South Texas has a bunch of agriculture. And so country music was always around. When I got into high school, I was always in orchestra and band. I played upright bass, I played double bass in orchestra, and then in band I played the bass guitar. So we would take a bass guitar to our football games, and I would play LaGrange with the drum with the drum line, and I'd be playing Iron Man, like Black Sabbath, or the Trooper and Seven Nation Army, and if when the game was over, depending on who won, if we won, I would play another one, Bites the Dust. I got in trouble for it one time. But yeah. I mean, that's what I would do. And then, so I was going to go study music. And at my senior year, my dad bought a roping horse from the King Ranch. And I was like, well, this is cool. I want to get into this. And so I started roping. I started getting into team roping.
Okay.
And so I rodeoed collegiately. I went to A&M Kingsville and got my degree in agricultural science, and I worked on King Ranch for those 4 years and rodeoed collegiately for a year or two.
What'd you do in the rodeo?
I was a team roper header. Yeah, I was heading. And that same time though, I that's when I learned about Jason Boland, and I learned about Turnpike, and I learned about Pat Green and Charlie Robeson and the Damn Quails, and like this was like all the stuff that was going on while I was in college. I remember Turnpike played my homecoming one year, and like they played on a flatbed trailer. It was like back in the day. This was probably like 2013, 2012, something like that. Yeah,
homecoming.
Yeah.
And so it was that was really when I discovered a lot of the Texas country Americana kind of movement. And at the time, I had also, was getting into country, and I was like, man, well, where does this all come from? Because I'm just always a music guy, being an orchestra, and like, I love digging into music. So then that got me getting into like Merle Haggard, and then, the older stuff like Ray Price and Don Gibson, and then the Willie Nelson stuff. And, that just kind of led into a domino effect into like the rest of the eras of country music, like Johnny Paycheck and Conway and all that stuff. But I was still always a metalhead regardless, you know what I mean? So it was definitely like
So you didn't have to rebel against country music just for being from Texas. You were like, yeah, I like this, but this is also good.
Yeah. And honestly, like I'm kind of all over the place musically, because I grew up right on the border. So Mexican music is like, it's a whole nother type of music for me, and a whole different language, and I take different genres of that as well. Like I grew up on a lot of norteño, tejano, and conjunto, and mariachi, and boleros. My grandfather was a mariachi singer, and so I would watch him sing a bunch of Vicente Fernandez songs when I was growing up. And so, I love this, like, this upbringing that I had, because it kind of gives me like multiple aspects into music, or like perspectives into music. If it hadn't been for me getting into rodeo, I wouldn't have gone to A&M Kingsville and then gotten into Texas country, which ended up leading me into playing pedal steel guitar. Then that eventually led to me being in Silverada, slash Mike and the Moonpies.
Do you take stuff from all different genres? Like, do you take metal, like tricks, I guess, or bass playing stuff, and put it into country?
Oh yeah, all the time. When we play, going back to the Gary Stewart record, we play Dance with Barbara live pretty often, and usually on that song, like I just start going like full metal, like like just going off on it. And definitely like a lot of the like fast paced stuff, because like Paycheck to Paycheck, like that song just hauls. But
a lot of talks real fast.
Yeah, and like when we're playing it live, like we're playing it even faster sometimes. And I'm very thankful to have those metal chops to where I can just like really keep up with it, right? Definitely, like I get influences from a lot of spots, like with our recent album, like our eponymous record Silverada, the song Wallflower, I was like really influenced by ABBA on that track. So we all kind of collectively draw from a lot of spots of music. Like Eagle Rare, I remember Mike wrote that song at like 6 a.m. and then we pull into the studio. I was on my way to the studio and he sends this like voice memo at like 5:30, 6 a.m. And I'm awake because I'm 5 hours from the studio. So I'm driving up to the studio and just I get this like note of Eagle Rare. We get into the studio and Mike's a big Wilco fan. And so he was like, hey, I kind of want to like take this feel. I can't remember what song it was. And I was like, I understand the assignment. And and the whole song just ended up just being like that one note during the whole thing. And then it turns into this chaotic section that kind of leads you back into that same continual vibe. And that song reminds, we all have like our own like personal attachment to that song. And Mike brought that Wilco, Jeff Tweedy type of approach to it, and for me, it was very much like y'all right, Chopper. So Easy Rider, Wasn't Born to Follow, the Birds. How it starts off and it's like, well, I'd rather go and or whatever the lyrics are, and it's just like a real straightforward beat, and then it gets to that breakdown where like I guess in the movie they're in like Louisiana, they're in New Orleans or something like that, and they're in the cemetery. And that song is going off, and it's just this like trippy 70s like kind of imagery happening, and then it just goes back straight into that like groove. I always liked that kind of what they did there, and that's kind of how I see the song. But yeah, we all definitely bring our own like backgrounds into this whole thing, and it ends up becoming what we sound like. You know, it can sound country and it can sound metal or it can sound rock. You know what I mean? But it's just an authentic collective input of all of us and
Well,
our
a
musical
lot of
experiences.
bands do that. You know, like I'm a real big Deadhead, right? Like that's my shit.
Same, same,
Yeah. So you know how like on paper it doesn't make any sense
for
because
sure.
one guy's doing like Phil's playing like orchestra style
And
shit.
and Phil is a legend. I should have worn my Phil Les shirt today. Shit.
Yeah, dude. Like if I just sit there and listen to what he's doing, or like if you listen to Box of Rain and him trying to sing it live, it's like it's not great. But if you listen to the bass line, you're like, well, that's why he's doing too much shit, man.
Yeah, man. And like and it's the same thing with that with the band, like with the dad is like you have like Jerry, who's obviously a legend, but he also did like those pizza tapes, those bluegrass.
The old school bluegrass guy.
Yeah, dude. And then he plays pedal steel on Dire Wolf and all the dead stuff, and he also plays pedal steel on Teach Your Children.
Yeah, and the
That's
new writer stuff.
Yeah. The new writer stuff was Buddy Cage.
Oh, I think Barry did like the first record.
Gotcha.
He did do Panama Red already.
Yeah, Panama Red is definitely Buddy Cage.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole band is just it's the jam aspect of it is great. We love it. And the same kind of thing applies with like bands like the Allman Brothers, dude. Like Allman Brothers were phenomenal. Dickie Betts was an amazing guitarist, and
he's the most underrated guitar player of all time.
I mean,
and I'll die
possibly, yeah. I mean that, yeah. It depends who you're asking, but
dude, when people think about the Allman Brothers, they're like, man, I love Dwayne. It's like, well, what's your favorite song? Like, Blue Sky, Rambling Man. It's like those are fucking Dickie Betts.
Yeah, man.
Dwayne wasn't even on them, man.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the cool thing with this band. We kind of like just collectively take from so many things. Marshall Tucker Band, man, like
I love
This Old Cowboy, like Desert Skies, like
dude,
all of that
Desert
jammy shit is just, it's the best, man.
Oh my god, yeah, dude. My dad introduced me to. It was funny. He's not a Deadhead, but he introduced me to new writers, and he didn't realize what the connection was. But he also introduced me to a lot of the like, I guess country southern rock. Where like his two favorite bands are Jethro Tull and the Allman Brothers. Not the Allman Brothers, Marshall Tucker. Obviously, Jethro Tull is British, but for some reason that guy fucking loves a flute. Like,
me too.
But I remember being like 12 years old, hearing Desert Sky and going, "This is what you can." Like, I was listening to Green Day and Blink-182, and I'm like, "This is a 6.5 minute long song with a fucking saxophone."
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god. Or watching those live clips of like Tori Caldwell, just growling on stage.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, the Caldwell brothers, like that, the era of Caldwell, like that's the Marshall Tucker Band. Like, dude, that's it.
And I think both of them, he for sure, but I think both of them are Vietnam vets too, like legit combat guys.
Damn.
And like bringing that into, like, that's something that I think people forget a lot about musicians in general from that time period. It's like, why are they all so fucked up? It's like, well, half of them were in Vietnam, dude.
Yeah.
Why are they living so hard? Because they have PTSD. Like, that's like, man, that's the cool thing about music. And I find that with a lot of, like, I struggle to say country music to refer to bands like yours now, or like Charlie Crockett or any of that, because I'm like, well, Charlie Crockett's sometimes doing Tejano shit, other times he's doing New Orleans shit, sometimes he does straight up like Charlie Rich songs.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to be like, it's country music. And that's why, like, I think this new wave of it is way more just like American music. I even struggle with Americana.
Yeah, I hear that.
Because it seems to me to be like a collection of all the different types of shit that we've all grown up on and listened to, because we're deep into music existing now.
Yeah.
And we all have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes
sense. And at like fast rates too.
Right. Oh my god! Like, it's like the fact that if I think about Desert Skies in fucking 5 seconds, I can be listening to it. And like different versions of it. That's wildly different than what it was.
That's the stuff I fantasized about when I was a kid, getting cassettes.
Man,
older brother who was in California in college, and that's how I learned about, shit. It would be like, like, how do you know who television is when you're 17? It was like, because a friend gave me a cassette. That
Yeah,
was
dude,
it.
I'm from the, I guess, in between the era where I'm like the era of Napster and LimeWire.
Right. You get
So
much to pull from.
yeah, and then that really just changed the whole game of like
Oh yeah.
landscape of music. But I mean, granted, now everybody just wants to go back to vinyl. So yeah, I definitely, if I want to hear "Searching for a Rainbow," I'm gonna go to my and play it on vinyl.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
we saw that shit.
yeah, dude, for sure. But I mean, yeah, it's great that you can just like pull it up on your phone and be like, yep, you know, do whatever you do. Put your headphones on while you're on your bike. You know, driving a boat, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? That's the cool personal thing about music, is that it means to us in so many different ways.
Well, why did you change? I don't know, if not you specifically, but why the name change from Michael?
Uh,
'Cause you're pretty
yeah,
the band at that point. You know, you're
yes,
established.
yeah. So the name change, a lot of it came from, honestly, like it. I mean, so to be quite honest with you, like the idea of changing the name of the band had been pitched around before I even joined the band, because I used to open up shows for these guys, and like we'd hang out and have parking lot parties where we'd just bust out a cooler from the trailer and we're all just drinking some beers, and the name change was always pitched, but just never like executed. And then now we were like, well, shit, like, this thing's kind of popping off, and things are, working out, and we've got a pretty decent following. Like, let's, you know, let's change it, or, move forward with it, in the idea that, sometimes the people that, I guess at the end of the day, decide where you go tour, and I guess labels and all that. You know what I mean? A name like Mike and the Moonpies isn't necessarily taken serious a lot of the time, and it can easily be dismissed. So it was just kind of like one of those things. Like, if you loved it, you loved it. If you didn't get it, you didn't get it. And don't get me wrong, I loved it too. I definitely, like, I love the idea of Mike and the Moonpies, and Silverada is great too, in the sense that, like, it's kind of, if any, like, if you listen to the albums from real, and this is what I tell people all the time, if you listen to the albums from Real Country to Cheap Silver and Solid Country Gold, or One to Grow On, it's a natural progression of, like, of just, you can hear the evolution.
Well, it's been 20 years almost since that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, people change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like I mentioned earlier, when I went to college, I got into all the Texas country stuff, but I was always a metalhead underneath it all. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, the music that we create is, again, a collective of where we all come from, and like the name change is, it's definitely different, right? And but we just kind of wanted something that just was kind of a clean slate, with just like endless possibilities. And so, like, if we wanted to make a badass Southern rock album, we could, and it wouldn't be tied to this idea of like Mike and the Moonpies is a honky tonk bar room band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then we just get pigeonholed into doing that all the time. And granted, like, we would love to do that. It's cool. We know how to do it. Like, we can do it. We can totally do it. Not saying that it's easy, but I'm saying that we're capable of doing it. But we're also capable of making the next Desert Sky, or the next. I mean, not the next, but we can take those influences and create something new with it, or something meaningful to us and to the rest of the fans and the music community. It's basically a new leaf.
That makes sense.
Well, with that, what do you have coming up? What's going on? Because it's been 2022 was the last record, I think.
Yeah. So this year, we've got a big year coming up. We've got a lot of exciting things. For the Chopper guys, we are playing Born Free this year in California. So we'll be doing Born Free. We've got a run coming up to the Gulf Coast this coming week. So starting Friday or Thursday, we'll be in Jackson, Mississippi. And then we'll be headed through Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Back to South Carolina. We'll be in Macon, and then we'll come home for a few shows. And then we've got a West Coast run about halfway through the year. So we'll be hitting up the West Coast, California coming back. California treats us great, and we're really excited for that. But yeah, lots of big shows coming up. We're going back to the Shed in Maryland. In Maryville. Sorry, Maryville. I said Maryland.
It's a different place in DC. Very
yeah,
similar names.
I meant to say Maryville, Tennessee.
The place in Maryland.
Tennessee.
Same shit.
Yeah, Maryland is yeah. Sorry, my bad. That was my.
I saw a reggae act there.
But yeah, we'll be going to the Shed, and I love going to the Shed. That's a Harley Davidson dealership, so they take us riding.
Okay.
Yeah, they take us riding out there, and I'm sorry.
Does the whole band ride?
Well, me and Zach used to ride. I ride. Who else rides in the band? I guess it's just really me. I guess, and then we got a couple hang around guys that like always come in clutch for us to give us a supporting hand, like Caleb Alamand. He's got a cool iron head chopper, and every now and then we ride together. Very, very rarely, maybe once, but we ride together. And a buddy of ours who used to TM and helps us out with sound every now and then. Colton, he rides as well. So yeah, we get a lot of guys that ride and that come and go and but yeah, I ride. So yeah, that spot. Sorry, the Shed.
The Shed. Yeah.
The Shed.
So at the Shed, yeah. So at the Shed,
Tennessee Shed.
it's a venue that's like connected to Harley Davidson dealership, which is Smoky Mountain Harley Davidson. And Scott Maddox, it's his place, and he's got an amazing thing going on there. And last time we were there, he took us on like the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, and then we went and did the Tail of the Dragon.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've heard of the Tail of the Dragon. It's 318 turns and 11 miles. And I was on a Harley Heritage Classic, just like scraping floorboards on those crazy corners. But yeah, big shows coming up. We'll be kind of mostly doing like Gulf Coast, West Coast, and hopefully we can get up to the East Coast. But I don't know if we'll be doing that this year. I love going to the East Coast too. What's that?
Come through Kentucky.
Yeah, we've got a Louisville show coming up. I don't know how far that is from you. So we'll be in Louisville on July 26th.
Okay, that's not that ain't that far.
Yeah, at Mercury Ballroom.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So yeah, for those listening, we just released tour dates on our social medias. So you can find us at Silverada on TikTok, Instagram, I think X, Threads, and I don't know all the other fun stuff. But
Instagram,
Facebook, yeah. What was that?
Instagram's the best.
Yeah, for sure. I love Instagram. But yeah, yep. So we got big things coming up this year. We're going to be working on a new album this year. Yeah, so it'll be an interesting. It'll be very interesting to see where we're at this year with so much music and change and growth. I think it's going to be a great time to really like come back to what we know and trust in ourselves.
Yeah, dude, that's very exciting. Before we go, I gotta ask the question that I ask everyone we have on here.
Yeah.
Have you seen the 1980 movie Cruising with Al Pacino?
No.
Oh my God, not a single person has yet. Just waiting for the day. You should watch it. It's very good.
Which one is this? Is that one? It's not the one where he gets out of what is it? Nah, I don't think I've seen it.
No, I can't go through the
William
whole thing.
Friedkin.
Yeah, Billy Friedkin, the guy who did The Exorcist and French Connection.
On The Exorcist in a way.
Yeah, it's based on a guy who was in The Exorcist, who was a real serial killer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's not the taxi driver guy, right?
No, it's
Gotcha.
it's a guy who's in the scene where they do that one procedure in the hospital, and he's like an orderly, and that guy was a real serial killer named Paul Bateson, and he would kill and cut up other gay dudes that he would meet in clubs and then dump them in the river.
Damn.
And then Friedkin made a movie called Cruising, where Al Pacino plays a cop who goes undercover in the gay S&M club scene, and it's all shot on location. So it's nuts. All the shit that's happening is real.
Or actual
Oh wow.
mobster-owned
Yeah,
gay
mob
clubs.
owned gay clubs.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just need to know. I'm waiting for the day that someone goes, "Yes, I've seen it."
What? That's wild. I'm gonna have to look this up. Where can I find this movie?
Oh,
We're
there's
showing
actually we are showing.
We're showing it on the 7th.
but there's
Oh,
a
nice.
there's a free version of it on YouTube right now.
Oh, right on. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that up because that sounds wild. It'll probably end up being a bus watch.
Oh, I would be
Mhm.
so happy if the entirety of Silverada were to watch it. Because
Send LFDW a message when you guys are doing that. He'll really appreciate it.
For sure, dude. For sure.
it's incredible. Thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it.
Man, thank y'all so much for having me, and yeah, it's been great. I've loved.
Omar.
Hey, likewise, man. It's been great getting to chat with y'all.
All right. Peace out.
Well, thank you.
Hey, thank y'all. Have a good one.